The movie begins with a young woman named Leila masturbating to a pornographic film. She gets up abruptly and goes out to a club looking for sex. Leila loves to go out and party, meet guys, and have fun with no strings attached. Leila has learned she has some power over men with sex, but deep down, she feels incomplete and that something is missing, and she's searching for what it is that's stuck. Before she can choose a partner for the night though, she is corralled into a bathroom by a guy named David. There's no conversation between them, and when she tries to drink some water out of the faucet, he helps her by putting his hands out under the water. The two stare at each other for a few seconds before his girlfriend, Victoria, calls through the door. She leaves but keeps her eye on David as she picks up a shy guy. Shortly after, the two begin to have sex against a fence outside as David watches from his car while Victoria floats him. Leila is in complete control of her encounter, while David remains completely passive. The next day, Leila rides her bike to her parents' house and sees a lot of stuff out in the garbage. When she confronts her mom, Marla, about it, she tells her that she and Leila's father, Joshua, haven't been together for a long time, that she is leaving, which devastates Leila. She goes to her father, but he only asks her if she talked to her mom. Later that day, she puts on a nice dress and goes out, getting noticed by David from his apartment. As she is walking down the street, David is seen following her. She realizes that and smiles, but does not speak to him. After walking fast for a few seconds, she breaks into a run, leading him to a playground. Afterward, they crouch inside a small tunnel and watch each other as she begins to touch herself. This time, however, he leaves. Later, after taking a bath, she accompanies her cousin, Rachel, to a bridal shop. Rachel tells her that she had sex with her ex while she was a month away from marrying another man. She loves her fiancé, but at the same time, wants that nasty time with Barry. Anyway, after Leila leaves, she wonders why her cousin chose love over great sex with Barry, given she's all about that stuff. When Leila sees David again, they finally speak to each other. She asks him what he's doing, and David says that he was looking for her. With no more words, David takes her to his place. Inside, he excuses himself and goes into another room for a short while. During that time, Leila is still unsure about this stranger, so she checks if the phone works. She then looks around the house. David returns, and the two have sex. Afterward, he asks Leila if she wants to go out with him on a real date, to which she says that she never had a date. Regardless, they exchange their names and their phone numbers. They share a passionate kiss before she leaves. That moment sparked something in both their minds as they couldn't stop thinking about each other. Leila narrates that she always thought men only loved through pleasure, and that she finally had the feeling that a real person was inside of her. While at work, Leila encounters David's now ex-girlfriend Victoria, who confronts her about sleeping with him. She's not mad though, but warns her that David has intimacy issues. Before leaving, she says that Leila could sleep with a guy as many times as she wants, but it doesn't mean that he's ever going to love her. Leila then goes to her parents' house after work and sees a box in her room with a message from her mom, asking if she wants what's in it, which are some old toys of hers. Leila then tries to leave a message for David, but immediately abrupts the call. In her narration, she says she didn't know how to get what she usually got from a man. She states that she wants to be with David all the time, so she goes to see him at his apartment. She lets herself in and finds David reading a book on his bed. Shortly after, they sleep together. They finally do go out and begin a real romance. She meets his father, who is physically fragile but very funny, teasing her about having sex and making noise in their apartment. David cares very tenderly for his charmingly brusque father. When they go back to the club again, they take some shots and start dancing. When David leaves to get a drink, Leila dances suggestively with a couple of men while watching his reaction. He is hurt and angry when they return to his place. He asks her if she ever had a threesome with two men, and when she replies yes, he calls her a slut. She then asks if he asked her this question because she was dancing with those guys. She laughingly apologizes, and David does not like that. When David shares his thought that there's more to it than her just liking the idea of dancing with other men, she admits that sometimes she thinks there's something stuck inside of her. She brushes off his fears when he confesses that he thinks of nothing but her and that he needs her, but she acts like it is all a game. He begs her to promise that she will not leave him, and she does but does not believe it herself. That night, they're both seen with their respective fathers. David's father accidentally pisses on himself and is distraught, but tells him it's okay and takes him to his bed. His dad asks him if he's going out tonight, and David says he is working. His father then tells him there's more to life than just work. The next morning, David wakes up next to Leila and goes to check on his father. He tries to wake him up, but gets no response, leading him to discover that his dad has passed away. After his dad's passing, David turns to Leila for consolation, but she doesn't know how to comfort him. She then goes to her parents' house and narrates that she doesn't think her mom and dad ever really loved each other. Marla leaves a message courage to call her back. Returning to David's place, he's still having a hard time with his grief. He reminisces about the time he used to crawl under his dad's bed to tease him, which made him laugh at the time. When he tries doing the same to Leila, she is rather frustrated by it. David then tries getting intimate with her, but she tells him to stop. She gets up in the middle of the night. She narrates asking, "How does a woman love a man?" David asked her never to leave him, but it was a promise she couldn't keep. She didn't know how to love him because all she knew was only how to have sex. So she leaves that night. The next day, when he wakes up, David realizes what has happened. Leila is with Marla, who's asking for her opinion on her new place before signing on the dotted line. Later that night, she thinks about David and calls him, letting him know she's coming over. She immediately starts kissing him, but he says she wasn't there when he woke up this morning. Leila, though, tries changing the subject by talking about guys in the club wanting to pick her up and that she wasn't interested. But David is devastated that she broke her promise, so he tells her to get out of his house. She makes another promise that she won't ever do it again, but it's too late for that. After Leila leaves, it's revealed that Victoria was there all along, and the two are seemingly back together. Leila's dad, Joshua, doesn't seem to be taking the separation well, as Leila tries to comfort him over the phone, telling him that everything is going to be fine. Later that night, she stumbles upon a guy named Vigorous, inviting her to a party. She accepts and goes inside where there's a hooker dancing and a bunch of guys smoking weed. Vigorous tells her he is obsessed with a girl like her and talks about her scent. Leila then starts dancing with the guy. Later, she calls David but ends the call without saying anything. She then gets into his apartment again by letting herself in. She lays on his bed and takes in David's scent. Discovering he is not in his apartment, she heads out to the club. Leila finds David enjoying a drink with Victoria and her friend. Leila does not hold back and straight up tells him she's sorry, and he takes her somewhere else to talk. There, she continues apologizing repeatedly, and in her emotional state, blurts out her parents' situation. She confesses her love for him and her need to be with him. Much to Leila's dismay, David makes it clear that he doesn't want to be with her. She leaves heartbroken. The next morning, she goes to her now emptied childhood bedroom and takes a nap. When she wakes up, Leila hears her parents arguing downstairs and goes out immediately to get away from all that. While in a taxi, she spots the shy guy from earlier and takes him to her apartment, presumably to have sex. She tells him she wants to have fun and commands the shy guy to take off his clothes, which he complies with. But not long after, Leila strikes at him in anger when he is unable to follow her peremptory commands and throws him out of her apartment in disgust. Since the breakup, Leila has been finding her sexual experiences more and more unsatisfying, even while watching pornography, which causes her to become increasingly frustrated. Meanwhile, David seems to be having the same problems, which Victoria notices. Rachel visits Leila at her apartment. She tells her that her dress is almost ready and asks Leila to come with her to her final dress fitting. Rachel discloses that Barry keeps calling her and that she told him it was okay if he came by, while Joel, her soon-to-be husband, was still away. Leila, though, tells her that it's probably not the best idea, which Rachel doesn't argue with. Rachel turns on the TV and discovers what Leila has been up to, and she can do nothing but burst into laughter. Leila and David are seen in their respective apartments, unable to stop thinking about each other. One morning, while Leila visits her parents' house, she discovers it's been sold. Everything is packed up, and Marla says the truck will be here in 5 minutes. Leila goes upstairs to see her dad, who's not yet ready to leave the house. Leila comforts him, telling him she's going to come and visit him all the time, and he can come to her place for dessert. It's not so bad to be alone, she says. David later reconsiders the breakup, but he is unable to find Leila again, as he knows nothing about her except her first name. Meanwhile, Leila gets ready for the wedding while the summer is coming to an end. As she rides her bicycle to the ceremony, David accidentally sees her and follows Leila in his truck. He waits outside the synagogue for some time. He approaches her as everyone floods out onto the sidewalk following the wedding. And then, Rachel grabs Leila's hand and she calls out to David to ask if he is coming. At the reception, David watches Leila dance with an old man and steps in to take her off his hands. Just as they start slow dancing and everyone notices them, including her parents, she runs away again. This time, he follows her all the way home and inside, telling her he will not leave her again. They reunite and the two engage in a passionate kiss as the movie ends. And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our video. Watch the next recaps on the screen, and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing recaps. See you in the next one.